So there's this thing called Pokemon. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's pretty popular though. Definitely big in Japan, and like most things that are big in Japan, over the years it's earned itself a manga adaptation or two, or over 100. My bad. I'll stop plagiarizing Mother's Basement. A ton of people have grown up with Pokemon, so there's quite a bit of nostalgia to be had. Unfortunately, I've sort of grown out of the franchise by now, mostly because of how lackluster the games have felt since Black and White, which are my personal all-time favorite, closely followed by the OG games, of course. Make sure to let me know what your favorite Pokemon is down in the comments, and if it isn't Black and White, I will hunt you down. Since Black and White and the OGs are my favorite games, I've always wondered what would happen if Pokemon really followed through with mature themes instead of kinda half-assing them at times. Like, Black and White set up N and Team Plasma so well, but they just turned out to be stereotypical Pokemon antagonists later on. As for the OG games, they do hint at interesting things, though I can't really trash on them too hard because Pokemon was still trying to get its footing. I'm just not the biggest fan of the direction the series takes over time, and so that's where my new favorite Pokemon manga comes in. No, I won't be talking about Pokemon Adventures or the Electric Tale of Pikachu, no matter how great they may be. I'm not even going to be talking about an official Pokemon manga today. Instead, I'll be talking about a doujinshi. Now, hold your horses for a second. When I say the word doujinshi, a few people might think about that 18+ material, but doujinshi is simply a Japanese term for self-published works. More often than not, these doujinshi are derivatives of other pieces of media, a fanfic, if you will. Well, let me tell you, Pokemon Festival of Champions is no mere fanfic. No, this series is the greatest doujinshi you'll ever read. For anybody deep in the Pokemon sphere, you may have seen this video by Ninjaristic Ninja. That's where I got the footage for the obligatory montage. Please check out the full MMV if you haven't because it's freaking amazing. This video is probably where a ton of people got their first introduction to Pokemon Festival of Champions, but if you've never heard of the series, let me tell you what it is. So this Pokemon manga was first published on Pixiv back in 2010, and it's drawn by Seijun Tombo. The story is about the Indigo League, the biggest Pokemon tournament in the world. That's right, this manga is a massive tournament arc. It mainly focuses on the three main characters, Red, Green, and Blue, and their various adventures and battles. Fun fact, it turns out this dude, who I thought was Blue, was actually Green in the initial Japanese release of Gen 1. Apparently, the Western releases of Pokemon Red and Green were changed to Red and Blue. Since there was no green version, the rival's name was changed to Blue. I just found this out when I read Festival of Champions. Back to the manga at hand, it essentially takes everything we know about the original Red and Green story and puts a more realistic spin on the world. This means that, yes, people and Pokemon can die. You know that theory about your rival's Raticate dying in the Gen 1 games? Yup, that's real in this manga, and its ramifications are fully explored. When Green meets Red in Lavender City and asks, "Do you know what it's like to have a Pokemon die?" it cuts deep. We even get to see how dangerous it is for a kid to challenge Team Rocket, a criminal organization. In the fight against Giovanni, Red's Pokemon are gravely injured, and he even considers releasing them after realizing he used them for his own selfish will to hurt people. Don't even get me started with Pikachu's backstory. This chapter left me in shambles, but you'll have to read it to find out. Despite the darker themes, Festival of Champions still manages to feel like Pokemon. The series remains quite family-friendly, avoiding depictions of gore and such, and it's not like the author made the manga edgier just for the sake of being edgy. All the struggles the characters face are there to push them to their limit. Since Festival of Champions is a self-published work, the story isn't going to be the most polished thing in the world. Some parts lack a bit of subtlety, but it manages to make every character unforgettable, even the supporting characters. Speaking of characters, let's talk about the main cast. Although the tournament is the forefront of the plot, readers are treated to flashbacks and insights into the characters' pasts, shedding light on their motivations and the events that shaped them. This adds depth and dimension to their personalities, making them more relatable and engaging for readers who have grown up with the franchise. Red, much like his in-game and anime counterpart, is determined to become the best trainer in the world, but he didn't start out this way. He only ever followed Green around, lacking a clear sense of purpose or direction. However, Red's life takes a significant turn when he encounters Pikachu. This moment is pivotal for Red, igniting his passion for training and battling. It's a testament to the power of finding one's calling and the impact that a single Pokemon can have on a trainer's life. Green, on the surface, seems like your stereotypical edgy rival, but there's so much more to that. He used to be a passionate, caring trainer, but the incident with Raticate left him scarred, leading him down a path of depression and emotional detachment. He was never able to properly cope with his depression, cutting off all emotion and going as far as to release Pokemon he deemed to be worthless to him. But it's not painted in a way to show Green as a complete asshole. In the end, he knows that it's best for both him and his Pokemon. This complex character development showcases the manga's willingness to explore the mental toll of Pokemon training and the real dangers that one's Pokemon face. Green's character stands in stark contrast to Red's immense love for his Pokemon who stand by his side no matter what. The last of the main cast is Blue, who doesn't get much development until we get to her battle in the tournament. We see how initially she didn't want to become a trainer because of her phobia for Pokemon, only becoming one because she felt bad for Bulbasaur. However, her experiences with Team Rocket and her connection with Haunter and Eevee allow her to confront her fears and evolve as both a trainer and a person. Her decision to protect her friends and strive to become a champion represents a powerful transformation and reinforces the theme of personal growth and overcoming obstacles. Since Festival of Champions mostly follows the game's story, it doesn't do that much to change the main characters. Instead, it's able to flesh out each of them, making them feel three-dimensional despite how simple they might feel on the surface. Besides Red, Green, and Blue, we've got other cool cameos like AJ, Reggie, Lieutenant Surge, Flint, Karen, and many more. Naturally, the Kanto Elite Four are also participating in the tournament. They're set up to be some of the most difficult final bosses in the series. Although Festival of Champions is centered around the Kanto region, it's not exclusively the first few generations. I was quite surprised when Skyla made an appearance, someone all the way from Unova. All these cameos are indeed fan service, but it makes sense within the context of the narrative because the Indigo League is open to all regions around the globe. We also see the different relationships between each of these supporting characters, making the world building feel so much more interconnected. As much as I like the writing and the more realistic approach to the Pokemon story, we all play the games because of the battles. Luckily for you, these are some of the most hype matches I've ever seen, and I was there to watch Mars beating MKLeo in Genesis 7. A huge factor that contributes to the hype in Festival of Champions is the gorgeous art. As you've been watching this video, you've been seeing the art in the background, but we really gotta just appreciate it for a moment. I know I gush about the art in every manga, but some of these panel sequences are incredible. The artist keeps the same general Pokemon art style, but it's still able to put a unique spin in it. Each character's facial expressions are vividly drawn, allowing for deep subtext, and the artist is willing to depict many Pokemon as the monsters they truly are on the battlefield. Yeah, Umbreon may be cute sometimes, but holy hell is this dude terrifying. One of my favorite aspects of the Pokemon anime is how creative these fights are. In the games, the combat is a little meh, but when you're watching these things in real time, the action is intense. You get some of the most big brain plays, like Alakazam using Future Sight to teleport the opponent's attacks to the future, giving the next Pokemon an opening for a KO. You get stuff like Espeon using Quick Attack while bouncing off the Reflect that it used earlier. If you like Pokemon for the action, you are not missing out on that stuff. The battles in the manga are not just about flashy moves and powerful attacks though, they're emotionally charged. The bonds between trainers and their Pokemon are explored in greater depth, making the battles more meaningful and impactful. Each of the opposing characters are also well developed, making every battle's outcome that much more powerful. We always feel sorry for whoever loses, but the character arcs achieved during each battle ensures that the losers still gain something despite being eliminated from the tournament. So far, only 14 chapters have been published of Festival of Champions, but these things are dense. Some of them go for upwards of 77 pages. The length and depth of the chapters in Festival of Champions are a testament to the creator's dedication to crafting a compelling narrative. These chapters go beyond the surface level of typical Pokemon adventures, delving into intricate character development, multifaceted relationships, and really detailed story arcs. The density of content ensures that readers are not only entertained but also intellectually engaged with the story, making each chapter feel like a rich and satisfying experience. We've even got 3 whole chapters to serve as Red's and Pikachu's backstory, and there are a few in between chapters. Overall, this series might be a quick read, but each of these chapters hit hard. It's rare for me to see a fan work that isn't just comedy or, for adult purposes, but when I came across this Pokemon doujinshi, I was quite intrigued. I thought, hold up, this dude's like unrestricted in what they're allowed to do. This could be insane. And luckily, my curiosity paid off because I was gifted with one of the best Pokemon experiences I've ever had. While Pokemon Festival of Champions may not be an official part of the Pokemon canon, it has carved its own niche among fans who crave a more nuanced and mature take on the world. It serves as a reminder that the Pokemon universe has the potential for storytelling beyond the traditional formula. For fans that have grown out of the franchise or felt that the recent games have lacked the depth and maturity of earlier entries, Pokemon Festival of Champions offers a refreshing and thought-provoking alternative. It rekindles nostalgia while pushing the boundaries of what Pokemon storytelling can be. In other words, make Pokemon 2D again.